All right, students, here's your 2.5 notes. Solving compound inequalities. Some vocabulary. It's also in your textbook. A compound inequality is formed by joining two inequalities with the word and or the word or. Okay, so that's compound inequality when we're joining two inequalities. Example 1 is asking us to write and graph compound inequalities. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to talk about, and I'm going to take some highlighters out, and we want to kind of like dissect the expression that they give us. And as we're doing that, we need to write down pieces of information that we should know already. The first one is a number x is less than 5. We know how to write that. So this is something important that we need to be writing. A number x is less than 5. Okay. Another thing that I really want to, I should have talked about this before, the and. Okay, I'm going to highlight the and. Anytime you see an and, that means that your graph, your two inequalities are joining. So your graph is going to look like this. You're going to have a graph and your points are going to connect. Your arrows are going to be going the same direction, so they're going to connect. I call this an and graph. And then it gives us another expression, greater than, so that number x is also greater than or equal to a -2. So I'm going to use the colors pink and pink and green. You don't have to use those colors, but I like to color code things. You already know that. So when I write a number x is less than 5, a number x less than 5, and there's our and we have x is greater than or equal to a -2. Some things to keep in mind, and I can zoom in on this. Some things to keep in mind. Are the inequality symbols. The rule as far as open dot and closed dot still applies. So we have to make sure we don't forget that. Another thing is, this is not me actually writing out our compound inequality. When you write out your compound inequality, these are like connected. So you do not, okay, don't leave it like that. So what is it going to look like? We know that we have x is our number, okay, or is our variable. And you always want to start with the largest number to the right and then the smaller number to the left. So we know 5 is larger than -2. So we know 5 is going to go here and -2 is going to go here. Again, we're writing inequalities. Whoops, 5 is going to be on the right. Think of like the number line. -2 is going to be on the left. So we know that x is less than 5. So less than 5, x is less than 5. And then by this time, as long as you have this arrow, you know that x is greater than or equal to -2. So that means -2 is less than or equal to x. So you have to make sure, one, that the arrows are facing the same direction. Okay, and remember, you always want to start with the largest number out of what the two numbers that they give you. Okay, and then just that will kind of help you flow. Okay, so this is us writing compound inequalities. That's an and. Remember, we now are going to graph, and I said when we're graphing it, our graph is they're gonna actually connect. Okay, so here's our graph. We can use 0, we have +5 and -2. Again, you want to look at, is this an open or a closed dot? This is an open dot. And then we know x is less than 5. So we know less than is going to go to the left, but I'm not going to draw it completely. I want to go ahead and put a closed dot above the -2. Again, if you don't remember open dot, closed dot, you need to review 2.3 notes, I believe, or 2.4 notes, and it was a Google meeting that we actually did the notes. X is greater than or equal to -2. So all the numbers that are greater than or equal to is going to go to the right. These are all numbers and notice how it connects. There's our answer. Writing compound inequalities and graphing compound inequalities. All right, so that's how we're going to focus. That's how we're going to kind of break it down. So again, let's take a look at B. A number x is less than -1. I'm going to take my other highlighter and highlight this or. We have an and an or. Greater than or equal to +4. Okay, so the or is going to be, you actually can separate when you're writing compound inequalities and you have the or, you can actually separate the two inequalities like what we did here and keep it like that. Just in between, instead of an and, you're going to have an or. Okay, so x is less than -1, or x is greater than or equal to 4. Okay, so that's going to be your answer. Okay, now when you're graphing an or, this is what I like to use my fingers. When we're graphing an or, your arrows are, one's going to go to the right and the other one's going to go to the left. They're not going to connect at all, like the and. See the and right here? These are connected. Your ors, one is going to go to the left, the other one is going to go to the right, okay? And that's what I like to share with my students. Again, keep in mind open, close dot. We're dealing with -1, 0, and +4. Okay, x is less than -1, so open dot, open dot to the left. And then you have 4. X is greater than or equal to 4, so remember close dot and to the right. So do you see the difference? The ands, they're connecting, okay? Your ors, one is to the left, the other one is to the right. Or, they're in opposite directions, okay? So if you have an or and it looks like, the graph looks like that, you know you did something wrong. Okay, so let's move on to write a compound inequality given a graph. So we're going to do the opposite. They give us a graph, and we have to write out. We're doing the opposite of what we did here. So they give us a graph, and we actually have to write this out. So here's an and. It's connected. X is in the middle. Remember, we're going to start with the largest number to the right. Okay, so again, we're looking at this. X is going to be in the middle when we're writing. We have the largest number, which is 3. Smallest number is -4. And we know it's to the left, so less than. We also know that it is a closed dot. So it's less than or equal to 3. And then we know that -4 is less than x, or x is greater than -4. Okay? So again, once you figure out what this arrow is, you can never have, if this arrow is facing to the left, this arrow cannot be facing to the right, because then you messed up somewhere. All right, let's move right along to B. This is an or. We should know that. And all you have to do is take each one. It doesn't matter which one you start with. We can start with 2. We know it is an open dot, and these are all numbers that are greater than 2. So x is greater than 2, or we have x is less than or equal to, because it's a closed dot, -1. And there's your answer, right? In compound inequality given a graph. All right, let's keep it going. This is our last example, example 3. It's going to ask us to solve in graph. Okay. Solve in graph. Okay. The first one, what we're going to do is remember before this is an and. I can see that. Here's an or. You can see the difference between the and an or. Okay. And what we're doing is we need to get x by itself in the middle, then your inequalities, and then your constants. But you have this like -2 attached to it, so you have to get rid of it. So it's almost like one-step equations. In order for us to get rid of this -2, we have to add 2 to each section. So we have 3 sections. To the left of the inequality, this is in between the inequalities, and to the right of this inequality. So you have to do it to all sides. So we end up with a -2 less than x, which is less than 5. Okay. So solve. We've solved. X is by itself. Now let's go and graph. So we should know how to graph. It's an and, so we know our graph is going to connect. Largest numbers on the right, we have 0, -2, +5. X is less than 5, so it's an open dot. X is greater than -2, open dot. There it is. Solve and graph. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the ORs. So with this, we have an OR. So our graph is, one is going to go to the left, the other one is going to go to the right. They're not going to meet in the middle, like they're not going to connect like the ands. So you're just basically solving, you know, 1-step, 2-step inequalities, and you're graphing it. So here's your variable 3y. Add 5 to both sides. 3y is less than -3. Divide by 3, divide by 3. Y is less than -1. So we have y is less than -1. If you want, you can already have that graph going. Here's a -1. It is an open dot. Y is less than, so we know it's going to go to the right. Okay. Isolate your variable. Add 1.